Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Today I'm joined, as always, with Brundy, the proud fan of a not one, but two-time 2023 winning team, the San Jose Sharks. Brundy, how do you feel?
Not only that, so the last time we did an episode, we kind of, me specifically, I went in deep on picking that Sharks team apart, and they just finished losing 2 games in a row, allowing 10 goals against. And in the span since then, they are now not even the worst team in the league. They're tied for the worst, but they're not the sole single team at the bottom. They are now tied with, surprisingly, the Edmonton Oilers, who they just beat tonight in a very good close game. It was a very fun game to watch. Probably the most entertaining Sharks game so far this year. I mean, it's not saying much, but I'm just on cloud 9 right now. I mean,
hell yeah.
I mean, the record's still 2-10-1, but I mean, back-to-back wins. Like, what more can you ask for from that team?
Yeah, you got one more. You got yourself a winning streak.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed it a bit before we hopped on here, but I think the biggest turning point was the one-sided meeting that Mike Grier had with the players, and again, it's nothing's for sure known about it, but everyone's kind of assuming what it means by a one-sided meeting is Mike Grier sits down with the players and says, you don't talk, you listen. He, yells at him, says whatever he has to say, and that's it. And then the players just, they sit on that, think about it. And I mean, they've won 2 games since then. They haven't allowed more than 2 goals in a game since then.
I don't think it's a coincidence that they go on such a skid at the start of the year, and then Grier has that meeting, and then they win 2 games. I don't think not only did they end up winning, but they're playing night and day so much better. Yeah, it can't be coincidence. I don't know what he said, but it's clearly working.
And not only that, it's also something that, I mean, a lot of people look at it as like, well, yeah, like the Sharks' defense is awful, so that's kind of why they did it. But so Mike Grier yesterday went out and traded a 2026 5th-round pick. So I mean, that's not even next year's draft. It's not the following year. That's the year after that. And then AHL forward Adam Raska for Kalen Addison, who is a good young offensive-minded right-handed shot defense, which is hard to come by. And I did not see that coming just from the fact alone of, I mean, the Sharks aren't a good team. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're still going to be, right down there at the bottom. But it's just interesting to see Mike Grier go out and make a trade to bring in a player to still improve the team and make them better. I really like that, and I think that's going to do wonders for the team the rest of the season. I think I mean, they lost Erik Karlsson, and without him, they didn't have a defenseman who had those offensive instincts and can, run a power play, which is what Addison did in his time with the Wild. So I think that's also a really big, just a really big part of, the team that we saw tonight from them, because, Addison, he played a big role for, I mean, the power play looked still bad. That's to be expected. But even in the defensive zone, I thought he was very solid. I didn't see any areas where I'm like, oh, I can see why Minnesota didn't want him. I think that's also a great move for the Sharks. It's going to pay off huge for years to come, because I think Addison is going to be part of that defensive core moving forward.
Hey, anytime you get a guy that is good enough to be part of like a team's core for a 5th-round pick, which is almost nothing. It's not nothing, but like a 5th-round pick is worth less than some of the worst players in the league. Unless their contract is actively negatively affecting your team, then they're worth more than a fifth, in my opinion. So that they barely paid for him. Like it's a great move, and especially since they decided that they don't want Thrun up in the NHL right now. It's a great move to get him in so he can play on the power play.
And the thing also is like the Sharks actually do have some really good defensive prospects, mostly Shakir Mukhamadullin and Henry Thrun, but they are both left-handed shots. Like the Sharks really, I mean, before the Karlsson trade, we kind of just knew Karlsson was gonna get traded, and so then it was like, okay, so now they only have Matt Benning as a right-handed shot defenseman, and then they get Jan Ruda back in the Karlsson trade, so he's right-handed. They bring in Kyle Burrows, who I think has been very solid to start the season, but that's pretty much the exact same player, just 3 times. And so, and Matt Benning is injured now. I don't know when he's going to come back, but bringing Addison in just makes that right side now. It just looks different having a defenseman who's more up there in the play. He's helping create chances. I think it just kind of shifts the dynamic a bit on the blue line, and you've now got another guy you can try and work in there and see, can he be a stable guy that you can now pair with one of your left-handed defensemen for the rest of the season? Because up until, the other night against the Flyers, the lines were just in a constant blender every game. Like I think every forward and defenseman on the team played a game with all the other guys at some point. Like it was just everything was a mess. So hopefully it's a step in the right direction now of this 2-game win streak here, of having more of an identity with your team and what kind of lineup you're going to try to run with throughout the season now.
Yeah, absolutely. You got any more for the Sharks?
2 things. One quick thing. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to bash a player, because I still really do like Timo Meier. But I'm very, very hard on the train now that I do think the Sharks have won the Timo Meier trade. And that's not to say that, Meier's a bad player. He has been struggling with the Devils. That's not going to last more than the next 10 games. It's going to work out there. He's going to be a terrific player for them. But I think just now when you're looking at all the pieces that the Sharks got back in the Meier trade, like it just looks like a home run for them. Like Fabian Zetterlund, again, didn't look good at the end of last season with the Sharks, but now, having a full off season with the team and full training camp, he's now up on the top line. He's looking awesome with Hertl and Eklund. Mukhamadullin, like I said, he's the Sharks' best defensive prospect. I think at some point, maybe near the end of the regular season, I think he gets a call up and gets some NHL games in, will be a full-timer next year. Quentin Musty, I mean, we all kind of know about him. Nikita Thoyuk, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. Every announcer's pronouncing it differently right now. Yeah. But he was just kind of a guy where it's like, okay, he was just kind of an extra defenseman thrown in to the deal because the Sharks really wanted defensemen mostly in a Meier trade, it seemed. And he was just kind of a guy that no one really knew much on him, but he was a former 2nd-round pick. He was injured kind of throughout training camp. He's now gotten his way into the lineup. He hasn't come out since he's gotten in, and he's just continuing to get better and better each game. And he plays the exact style that we're seeing that Mike Grier wants from defensemen. So that's 4 great pieces there. And then you've still got either a second or potentially another 1st-round pick from the Devils in next year's draft. So you add that in. I mean, I think like as of right now, the Devils got the way better player. But I think when you look at all those pieces that are going to be part of that Sharks core coming out of this rebuild, and when they finally get back into contending, I think it's just such a slam dunk. So
yeah, especially with how
never misses.
How much people said that that the trade initially was underwhelming for the Sharks.
I was on that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I was with you when
I
the
didn't.
trade broke.
Yeah, I had no idea who like any of the players were going back the other way. So, um, but yeah, it seems like it's gonna work out pretty well for the Sharks. And I mean, so the Devils are looking to compete right now, and I don't see how they do much right now without Meyer being at least a part of it. So if
Yeah.
if they win a cup in the next 3 years or something like that, like then it's a win for them too. Then it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, and also something thinking. I just thought about this now with the Devils. So say come the trade deadline, they're buyers again because I think they've still got a decent amount of cap space currently, or they can at least make it work to bring in a player. So they. I don't think they can technically trade either their first or second because they don't know which one is going to the Sharks. So I think their first round
Mm,
pick for this year and their second are both off the table for trade as well because you don't know
yeah,
which one you're going to keep and which one's going to the Sharks. So,
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
so aside from that, I mean, I'm really happy with what Mike Greer is doing. I can't believe we did not discuss this in the last episode, but Joe Thornton has
Oh
finally
shit,
hung them up. He is
we didn't talk about that.
no,
Oh
we
man,
didn't. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, wow, I didn't even occur to me to bring it up, but so that's probably the biggest news out of San Jose all season is Joe Thornton has officially retired from the NHL now.
big
I
taps
mean,
for Jumbo.
it's very, very disappointing that we unfortunately couldn't see him win a Stanley Cup, and it's very unfortunate that we weren't able to see him um, officially get a cock trick for Joe Thornton. That is getting 4 goals in a game. We never got to see that, but I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's going
Absolutely.
to be. I think it's no time. Not only is his number 19 going to get retired up in the Shark Tank, but I also see him joining Patrick Marleau in joining the Sharks again in some kind of management role. I mean, he still is like
He's
at
all over
Sharks
that arena.
practices. He's still at games up in the press box. Like I think it's more so it's the Sharks are like, you've got a job whenever you're ready, and it's just take your time. If you want to enjoy retirement for a bit, feel free to. But yeah, that's kind of a big end of an era there for the Sharks. Now Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau both retired out of the league.
I
It's
know a
sad.
lot
It would
of.
have been nice to see them get a cup, but it is
Yeah,
what it is.
it
Maybe
really
they'll get it
sucks.
in a management role with the team, something like that still.
That would be so sick to watch Joe Thornton with a massive beard in a suit, raising the Stanley Cup as a
Right?
coach for San Jose.
Yeah.
But I feel like Joe Thornton is one of the more underrated players in the last 20 years. I know a lot
Yeah.
of people know he's elite, but like, how many people do you know that have like feel it feels like they've realized that he put up like 100, what was it, like 125 points in a season
Yeah.
in
He's
just
also
coming out of the dead puck era, like
he's
just
also the
after that,
first
like
player ever, the only player as well to have won the Hart Trophy and I think the Art Ross. It might even be maybe not the Art Ross, but definitely the Hart of playing between two teams, like being traded mid-season.
yeah, he did win the Art Ross that year. Nobody was even
Yeah,
close.
yeah, yeah. No, but I think you're right though. Like just a guy that I feel like people talk about him and they're like, oh, he was good, he was a beast for the Sharks. But I think when you really look at it, like he was different. Like so, I pulled it up here. So the 1997 NHL draft class. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure because I'm looking at all the guys at the top of like the point totals, and none of them are still playing. So I can't imagine anyone lower than them is still playing.
Right.
But so to break it down, the top. So I just pulled up the top 5 point getters from that draft, the '97 draft. In fifth place was Brendan Morrow. only with 575. I say only 575, but so he finished that draft class with the 5th most points.
For 5th most in a draft class, you might expect a bit more, but at the same time, that's a great NHL career.
So a little bit of a bump up now, up from 575 to 750 was Olli Jokinen.
Okay.
Jumping up quite a bit from that, up to 1,134, Marian Hossa.
Hossa.
Jumping up just a little bit, only, but like just a little bit higher than Hossa, 1,197 points. Also led the entire draft class with 566 goals, and led everybody in games played, Patrick Marleau. So Patrick Marleau finished his career 1,197 points. Joe Thornton was number 1 with 1,539 points.
Jeez,
almost 1,000 points more. Almost 1,000 points more than the guy who was in 5th place from that draft class.
And Brendan Morrow isn't anybody to sneeze at either. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
So like that, like he was just he was just different, man. And it's,
playmaking machine.
And it's like 1,539 points in 1,714 games. So, he wasn't a point per game, but when you look at it, just those kind of last couple years, like his last year with the Sharks, and they weren't good. 31 points in 70 games. With Toronto, 20 points in 44 games. And then with Florida, 10 points in 34 games. So taking that into account, like he was almost kind of around a point per game guy in his career. Olympic gold medals, went to the World Championships, like represented Canada on the world's biggest stage. Like, hell of a career.
Absolutely incredible career.
And he just got his number 19 retired with the Sioux Greyhounds.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, not only you, but anybody, if you haven't seen the video of it, I strongly encourage you to, because it's such a cool video. So they were retiring Joe Thornton's number 19 up into the rafters, and he wears the colors. He's got a nice red, like dark red suit on. He looks sick. I don't know the name of the player, but whoever number 19 currently
is on the Greyhounds?
Currently is on the Greyhounds, yeah. So he came off the bench and skated over to Joe Thornton, like shook his hand. The kid pulls off his number 19 jersey with his name on the back. He rips the name off, and underneath it says Thornton. So number 19, cool. Joe Thornton jersey. He hands the jersey to Thornton, and then you can see his number is now, I think, like 63 or 56 or something. So he changed his number, which that's got to be a cool moment for the kid. You're the one that officially like ripped your name off 19, Scott Thornton's name. You give it to him. It's like, this is yours now. No one will ever wear 19 again, type of thing. I think that's really cool.
That's a really cool way to do it. And that's right.
It's
also got a little bit of WWE style pageantry. That's fun. Like,
and you also know that that's not a thing that, like, the Greyhounds management would have brought to him, type of thing. They would have been like, okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to skate out, rip your name off, and give it to him. Like, I think that's something he came up with himself. Yeah. Like, that just does, like, if it was the team, dude, they'd be like, just go up and take the 19 off, hand it to him, and type of thing. But to make it a big, kind of just dramatic reveal type thing, I think that's just something that a player would have had to come up with, because they're like, I want to do this type of thing. But either way, if anyone wants to go and check it out, I strongly encourage you to, because it's just a really cool moment. And with the way, kind of leaning into probably the next thing we're going to talk about, it's good to see some good in hockey still in those cool moments that kind of take away from the negative stuff in the league. which we can now transition to the next one. I'll let you.
Yeah. Are you referring to the Blackhawks news?
Yeah.
So, and I guess it was included in the Block and Jenner report that the law firm that did the original investigation into the 2010 sexual assault scandal for the Blackhawks. It was included that there were potentially other players that had also been sexually assaulted or raped by Brad Aldrich, and it came out the other day that at least one of those is true. So now we have a second player, also unnamed. Kyle Beach later on came out with his name, but this player is currently unnamed, and he's saying that it happened to him as well. Like, good God. And man, it really sucks looking at everyone's reaction to this. It's so bleak. Nobody thinks they're going to be held accountable at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you can't blame them.
Like Gary Bettman, like 2 days ago, was on the Pat McAfee show and said that hockey's never been in a better place.
That was a little bit longer ago, I think. I think that was before it came out. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but
I mean, either way, it's like now it's after they've very clearly just stripped Ottawa of a first-round pick, and now something like this happens, which again, in I think everybody's opinion, is way worse than what Ottawa did. Like way, 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 way worse.
Way worse than what Arizona did. Way worse than even back when Vancouver got stripped of a pick for the Luongo situation. This doesn't even compare to those, and they got a slap on the wrist, fine, and it's absolutely brutal. We need new leadership in the NHL like yesterday.
And I'll say this, I'm very confident that the Blackhawks will not face any punishment for this. And I believe they won't, because I think the NHL's reasoning behind not penalizing the Blackhawks earlier, when the first one came out, and now this one, is the reasoning is going to be because it doesn't affect the game today. Between what happened with Arizona, Ottawa, New Jersey, all of them, those were all in the moment that impacted the game in some way of the on-ice product that we're getting. Whereas the Blackhawks one is now, 13 years ago, which is, it's quite a while ago. And so that not only was it that long ago, but it's not impacting any teams or any teams currently in the league or affecting the on-ice product.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be it's a, fine maybe. And it's tough because they've got all new players. Like, I don't think they have any players from that team left anymore.
No, I don't think
new
so.
New coaches, new management. Like, it's new owner. Because So it's.
Good, but yeah. I genuinely wonder if something very similar, like if 13 years ago this exact scenario happened to the Winnipeg Jets, a Canadian team, not an Original Six team, not a big market. I wonder if they're throwing the book at them and making an example of them, or if it's also something like this.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder, and we'll never know because Gary Bettman.
Yeah, but it was also that news came out 6 days ago, 5 days ago, something like that.
Yeah, and around 5, I think.
So 4 days ago, the Chicago Blackhawks lost to the New Jersey Devils 4-2, and Scott Powers put out that the Blackhawks had a team meeting about keeping each other accountable following tonight's loss. And so you obviously know everyone online had a field day with that, being like accountability in the Chicago Blackhawks organization. Well, that's a first type of thing.
Yeah.
So now that's obviously picked up traction.
It's obviously ironic, but very ironic given the situation. But none of, like you said, none of the players that play for them anymore are hopefully were involved in any of that. They weren't around for any of that, at least on their team. So you can't blame them too much, but it'd be nice to see the higher ups in the franchise that have been around, or just really like holding anyone accountable to a proper degree. But what can you do? All we can do really, I guess, is let people know, keep the listeners in the loop on what's going on with that. Remind everyone out there to not be a dick. It's not that hard.
Speaking of being a dick, Alex Galchenyuk. So we talked months ago about what happened with him and the whole situation, and we kind of gave our thoughts on maybe him getting back in the NHL one day. If he does, what does it take to get there? That's all out the window. Because did you see the videos?
I didn't, but
the videos got dropped of Galchenyuk through it all.
Yeah, I looked at the comments, and it looks like it just confirms some of the things that he said that were rumored that he said before. And
it is brutal.
Yeah, though, dude, you can't say anything like that, man. Like the
it is one of the most
thing that he said is like he's done.
Yeah, it is one of the most disgusting videos I've actually ever seen. Not only the words he's saying, but the way he's saying them and showing no remorse. He
sounds like a freaking TV villain, like a psychopath. Dude, he's a monster.
Dude, he literally does.
And to put it.
And I know there's people out there who will still stand on that hill and be like, "Oh, we've all said things we don't mean and done things when we're drunk, whatnot." I don't care if that's the type of person you are because you're intoxicated. That is who you are as a person. No person gets drunk and is like, "I'm gonna say all these things." It's like drunk. No. That is a whole nother level. And again, I even kind of advocated for Galchenyuk originally when this happened, said, you know what, if he takes, a year or two off from the NHL and can prove that he's a changed man and that he's come out on the better side of this and all that, so be it. Maybe he can get his way back in. After these videos, there is no beating around the bush or trying to justify any of it. It's all right there. And I view it now very similar to, I can't even remember his name because he's so irrelevant now. But the kid with Mitchell Miller with Boston, where I think even if it's at a point now where a team was to sign Galchenyuk, I think the backlash would be so severe that the contract gets terminated, he gets bought out type of thing. I can't see a way back now.
It really also matters, how sore you feel about it. And, so in Mitchell Miller's case, he was like, yeah, I feel bad. And then the guy he bullied was like, I never got an apology. I even asked for one. He still won't give it. The dude just was an ass. But then, there's the Logan Mailloux situation where he did a shitty thing, a very shitty thing, but he's, by all accounts that anyone's heard, been working to get better, and he's got receipts for trying to get better. He can prove it to a degree. So it obviously, some things you cannot come back from, but it also depends on how you handle it. And Galchenyuk's kind of losing on all fronts there.
And with the Logan Mayus thing, is if because I think he's playing with in the AHL for Montreal's AHL team, correct?
I think so.
So I mean, if he has already made it there, he makes it to the NHL. I mean, if it, I feel like
be with a CHL team. Actually, I think he's under. He might have a contract with them, but he's. I think he might still be on a CHL team, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
Either way,
but either way, I feel like if he's a guy who's got those receipts of him trying to get better, I think that's a guy when you see him get to the NHL level and he's like, a full professional athlete at the highest level, that could be a guy who goes on to do, I think, very good things in trying to always do good things and give back as much as he can, because if he's come out a better person of it and a guy that's very grateful for the fact he's even getting to be in the NHL after everything and all that, like that could be someone who could, I'm not saying he's going to, but could end up being a very positive influence going forward. Again, not saying he's going to be, but I think experience. Exactly.
You'd hope he would, for sure.
There's numerous people who, have been in those positions where they did a shitty thing, they're at their lowest, and then, someone maybe reaches out to them, takes a chance on them, helps build them back up, they get better, and then they go on to do great things. Like that's a part of life, that's nature. But with Galchenyuk, I think now with this video, there's just no coming back. Just none.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal to not I'm not going to quote him or anything, but like he makes very direct threats. He makes very direct threats at the police officers helping him, on top of being saying a lot of really bad stuff. He also makes a lot of threats, very specific threats about his family and stuff. Like he crosses so many different lines so fast. It's like he's speed running, trying to get arrested harder.
And the thing that makes it even worse for him, because I did watch the video and it is a tough watch, but even the police officer is being so respectful and polite towards him. And he was even like, even in the midst of Galchenyuk saying a lot of racist things and just all those other negative things, the police officer was still being so calm and polite and being like, just trying to explain it to him, like, you did what you did, you crashed, you knocked over, I think he said stop signs. We were assessing the situation and checking on you. We thought you had, I think he said, we thought you had like you were reaching for something in your pocket, and we asked you to like stop and let us, search you for items, and he refused to, and that's kind of when it escalated. And he was being so polite and respectful with him, just being like, dude, we're explaining the situation to you. This is what happened. We're not even fully arresting you. Like we're taking you down because we have to do this as part of the process. It's our job.
Yeah.
And Galchenyuk was just having none of it. And so it's tough when, this cop is just trying to be so polite and respectful and brushing off all these hateful things and still being very professional about it, which makes it even worse for Galchenyuk that he still just kept drilling them with all the things he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on from that, one thing that I want to start doing with the podcast whenever we're during the season, just quickly rattle off the leaders in a couple of categories every episode.
Can I throw one thing in quickly just before we do that?
Sure.
Because I don't want this to leave my mind, because I just thought about, but a guy you mentioned with Joe Thornton, like, a very good playmaker, a guy who's always again, a great player, but always kind of feels like underrated, and they don't get their glory that they should. But Nicholas Backstrom has left the Washington Capitals for the time being due to just not feeling right after his, I think it was surgery or something. So this maybe, kind of the way it's looking, could be the end of Nicholas Backstrom in the league.
Yeah, he might have played his last game. Who knows? Maybe he'll come back a little. He'll feel a couple years younger. It's hard to say at this point, but
I think it's
hopefully,
also
hopefully he recovers
um,
well.
yeah, I think it's also easier for a guy like that when the position he's in is he got his ring at least. He got to lift the cup.
Absolutely.
So it's not like he's going through that process and is like, I just want to get better and get back out there and try and, go at it one more time with the boys and whatnot. At least he can now be like, if I come back, it's just to play the game that I love and help the team. It's not like he's missing out on winning a cup potentially if he walks away from the game potentially. So
Yeah.
but either way, hell of a career, Tim. And I think I speak for both of us when we just say we hope that he's getting better and can potentially make that comeback to the game one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now,
Continuing on,
we can go to the points leaders,
leading off
the stats leaders.
Listing off a couple of the leaders here. Elias Pettersson is currently leading the league in points with 24, followed by Nikita Kucherov at 23 and Artemi Panarin at 22. For goals, we got Austin Matthews at 13, and then we got Nikita Kucherov, Brock Besser, and Kyle Connor all at 11. Let's do defensemen as well. For defensemen, the top three in points, we got Quinn Hughes at 21, Victor Hedman at 17, and Cale Makar at 15. And then for goals for defensemen, we got 5 apiece for Quinn Hughes, Jacob Chychrun, and Dougie Hamilton. For rookies, we have Connor Bedard at 11 points, and then Pavel Mintyukov, Bobby Brink, Logan Cooley, and Luke Evangelista all at 8.
Also worth noting that Bedard was down there in all those guys tied with 7 until today. He had a big night, his first 4-point night in the show.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, it was. I did not enjoy the broadcast. Tampa scored 2 really nice goals, and at the time it was 2-1. And Bedard's was like a tap in, just a cross crease pass. He tapped it in. It was all right. It was a bit of a greasy goal, and they had like 3 different companies' logos show up, and then be like, "This was the Ford goal of the game." And it's like, okay, we get it. It's Bedard, but like, it's not the best goal of the game. Also, like 15 minutes in the game have elapsed. Like the first period's not even over. Like they're going nuts. But he did play really well. He played really well. He set up most of those. Like he was a big play driver for them.
Mm-hmm. He's got to be.
Yeah. He had 2 goals, and then he did a shot pass where that Corey Perry tipped in on the power play, and a lot of the crowd thought that he shot it in, so a bunch of people threw their hats onto the ice when Corey Perry scored. That was kind of funny.
Did you see the video of Corey Perry at Lightning practice this morning?
Yeah, like all the boys were talking to him on the bench.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Especially for a guy like Corey Perry, where people always jump to that he's
a controversial figure and
and all that. So it's kind of nice to see him go back to Tampa and see all the boys excited to see him again and want to chat with him. And
apparently, John Cooper said that he told him earlier today that he hopes that one way or another later on he comes back to Tampa. And we didn't even get outbid by Chicago for him, I don't think. I don't think he got offered that big money until after we let him go. So I'm wondering if he means later in his career or like in like an off-ice role, like a managerial role, which could be very interesting.
Yeah.
Just to round out some of those stats, I guess we'll also do a couple goalie ones. Jeremy Swayman leading the league in save percentage. It's pretty early in the season, so these are wild stats. But Jeremy Swayman with a .952, Semyon Varlamov with a 950 and Thatcher Demko with a 948. And then we got Varlamov, Demko, Jonas Johansson, and Tristan Jarry, all with 2 shutouts. And for whatever reason, they don't have wins on here. But wins is a team stat, so that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a big one for me is just what a start to the season for, I mean, the Canucks as a whole, but also Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. Quinn Hughes is the front runner for the Norris, and it's not even very close, is it? Like there's other guys that are close with each other, but I think he's a cut above at the moment. He's playing really well defensively, and he's otherworldly offensively. He's the only defenseman on this list when I'm sorting by stats. He's the only defenseman on the skaters point list, and he's in 4th. He's not like far down either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they are cooking over there in Vancouver.
Yeah, it's been a terrific start for them, and I only see it. I don't see it, them drastically like falling off a cliff. Like I think this is the Canucks that we've got for the season. Like everything is just clicking so well for them. I think the addition of Filip Hronek, which a lot of people thought they're like, what are the Canucks doing here? Like, why not? Why are we not keeping this first? And I don't even know why Detroit gave up on Hronek.
Yeah, I don't know why people didn't like that trade. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I looked into Hronek super hard, but I always felt like he was pretty good. It felt like almost a bit of an underpay for a first for him. Considering people were giving up a first for one playoff run of Nick Foligno and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, not only that, playoff to go out in the bubble.
I guess he didn't even play.
Didn't technically make the playoffs. But I did say it when it first happened. I may have even tweeted. I can't remember. I tweet a lot of dumb shit.
Yours is a garbage feed. It's great.
The biggest thing I kind of saw when the trade first happened was I basically saw it as they went out and got Filip Hronek, so now they have that guy that is with Hughes for the next 10 years.
Yeah,
like that was the perfect player to bring in to put with Hughes to not only make the team better and the defense better, but to make Quinn Hughes better and bring the best out of him. And we've only seen Filip Hronek get better since then, and we've definitely seen Quinn Hughes get better. And that's now a pairing you've got that you can run with, as long as you want, type of thing. And if you got to only pay a first round pick for a top pairing defenseman for the next 12 to 15 years, like that's
huge win.
Yeah.
And I did the top 3 players for points defenseman, but number 4, Filip Hronek, fit with 14 points. Like,
damn, I didn't even know he was that high.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's really been.
He's 1 point behind Cale Makar.
Wow.
Yeah, they are. I believe they just tonight got their 5th win in a row. They are doing really well. And I mean, with the way the Oilers are playing, somebody in the Pacific has to pick up these wins.
So we have to talk about them now, right? Like, we got to talk about the Oilers. But before we do, I'm going to tell you something really cool. This is really cool.
It sounds like it's going to be a very mean, pretty cool thing to a certain fan base, but let me hear it.
So to start the season so far, Connor McDavid has 4 even strength points. He's got 6 power play points because he did not get a point against the Sharks tonight, where people thought he was going to break records, and he didn't get a point. And he played almost 25 minutes.
Washed. Is he ready?
So McDavid has 4 even strength points on the season. Pat Maroon on the Minnesota Wild has 9. Pat Maroon has double the amount of even
He's
strength points
cooking.
McDavid does.
It's
And
so good.
Connor McDavid averages just a little bit under 22 minutes a night. Just under 22 minutes a night, playing with Draisaitl, Bouchard, Nugent Hopkins, Kane, Pat Maroon. I don't even know who he's playing with on the fourth line in Minnesota.
I saw him score a tic-tac-toe goal with Joel Eriksson Ek. I don't know if they're on the line or if he was just out there with them, but I mean, 9 points. He's probably making his way up the lineup.
This actually, yeah, kind of does surprise me. He has averages 14 minutes of time on ice per game, and averages 1 minute of power play time on ice. So he's not scoring on the power play, getting points, but he's on it.
But he's to screen on the power play. I haven't watched him in Minnesota, but there's no way they're using him for much other than screening.
So,
which he's very good at.
Like when we were doing our predictions, we both had Edmonton either first or second in the Pacific. Yeah. I had Jay Woodcroft winning the Jack Adams. I think we did. I don't know. Where do we do playoff predictions? I don't know if we did. I think we just did who we thought was going to win the cup.
But anyways, yeah, I'm pretty sure we just did cup winner.
We just had all these high things for Edmonton, and we knew San Jose was going to be right at the bottom.
If you Edmonton told me that another first,
if you told me at the beginning of the season through, 12 or 13 games of the season, it was like that Oilers Sharks game, they're going to be the bottom 2 teams in the league, and San Jose is going to win that game, I would have been like, no, there's no way Edmonton is down at the bottom of the league with the Sharks, and the Sharks beat them for them to now. Not only that, that's the first time the Sharks have beat them in, I think, their last 8 meetings or something like that. They kept losing to the Oilers for quite a bit. And now they're 31 and 32, both tied at 5 points.
It's crazy. Even if in the scenario where, for whatever reason, McDavid hasn't played this entire season, I would still predict that they have more than 5 points. Yeah. It's crazy that they're this bad.
And even now Jack Campbell gets sent to he gets put on waivers and he's sent down to the AHL. So now, and he's still got another 3 years after this one of his contract? Making $5 million per year. Oh. Where is it? Oh, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. So Jack Campbell sent down to the AHL, cleared waivers, obviously.
Yeah.
His first game with the Bakersfield Condors in the AHL. Played the full game, 60 minutes.
Yep.
20 shots against, 16 saves, 4 goals against in a 4-1 loss. He just got lit up in the AHL, his first game.
Oh, man. Dude.
If you're the Oilers now, because, you can't just have, I think they saved just about $1 million with him being in the minors, but you can't have $4 million for the next 3 years after this one in McDavid and Draisaitl's prime of dead cap on a goalie to stay down there.
No.
What do you have to attach to Jack Campbell to even trade him? Because a team getting him is he can't even play in the AHL. He gets lit up in the NHL.
If you have a prospect, which they don't really have.
They have Xavier Bourgault.
I
think that's about it.
Yeah, either picks or prospects, and then ship them to a team that's knows that they're going into the rebuild for the long haul, maybe a Washington. maybe Washington takes him, and if you can get Darcy Kemper back or something like that, that'd be really nice.
I think I think to trade Jack Campbell, you almost have to do at least a first. I think what is kind of their top prospect, Xavier Bourgault, because they traded Reed Schaefer and they didn't have a first last year. So like at least a first in Bourgault. I think you also need to add Broberg in there. I know his value's probably not that high as it was a couple years ago. I think you need to add him. And then you still might need to do like a second or something. Or something like a Ryan McLeod. Like I think you need to, because that's a team that's now taking basically $5 million of dead cap for the next 5 years. And not only that, that's saving you. Like you're not even fully paying for them to be willing to do it. It's to help the team and actually get rid of that cap.
Yeah.
That's tough there, man. And again, I mean, like McDavid looks hurt. Again, I don't know if it's another injury or if it's still the same one.
I imagine it's the same one. He looks like
he looked like he came
back too soon.
But even the rest of the team, like you said, even if McDavid haven't played at all, with still again 100-point guy Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Kane. You've still got Ekholm, Dylan Holloway, which former first round pick, like he's supposed to be. Yeah, like I can't figure out what's going on there, and I think again,
obviously they are getting really bad goaltending, like across the board, but
even tonight, still. Like I thought Stuart Skinner looked fine. I think the first one was a nice play, but I think was savable. But the second one, I mean, a bounce off Zetterlund right to Hurdle and the one-timer, not much he can do there. Philip Zadina's goal, beautiful pass by Sturm and a great one-timer kind of half one-timer by Zadina. Like, again, I don't think Stuart Skinner, and he actually almost even saved that. Like, I thought Stuart Skinner looked actually really good tonight. And it's just, I mean, I want to sit here and actually, the Oilers did get a lot of good chances. Like, Mackenzie Blackwood did play very well and stopped a lot of ones that I think Kakkonen would have let in. But I mean, still, I think the Oilers had like 40 shots or something.
Yeah.
And only 2 goals. And one of them was a bounce that popped right to Nugent-Hopkins for an empty netter with only 2 minutes left or something.
Yeah, that's... man. I want to sit here and say that you can't just get bad puck luck for a whole year, but that's like what we saw all of last year with the Calgary Flames. Just all year we were going, their luck's going to turn around. The stats show that they'll get better, and it just never did. They never got a good bounce. It always went in their net when it was a 50-50. Like, hey, you know what? If it happens to Calgary, it can happen to Edmonton, I suppose.
And even, like, what was Edmonton's power play last year? Like, didn't they set a record or something?
I'm pretty sure it was, like, the best power play of all time.
Yeah, and then in the playoffs, like...
It was like 35% or some shit.
Yeah, and then the playoffs, like, it might have been up to, like, 50%. It was nuts.
I think it was around 40. I think it went up from the regular season.
And so the Oilers have that exact same power play out there tonight against the Sharks, who, coming into this game, I think their penalty kill was 70% or something. And I don't even think that's actually the worst in the league currently. And the Oilers didn't get a power play goal.
Yeah.
Like, their power play got skunked. And they got quite a few. Their power play went 0 for 4 against a terrible San Jose penalty kill. Like, I don't know. I think something has to change soon, because and especially with the run that Canucks are going on, which, you know, I think we kind of are very certain that Vegas and LA are for sure, going to be two of the three Pacific teams for sure. I think that lead that the Canucks are really gaining on the Oilers this early. I don't know if the Oilers are going to be able to catch the Canucks at this rate. And so then the Oilers are sitting there going for a wild card spot. And then you're guaranteed to probably play Colorado or Vegas round one.
Yeah. Or St. Louis if they catch a hot streak.
Yeah, apparently St. Louis is a wagon, according to you. Oh, no, they're out of a playoff spot now. We're fine. Even Dallas, maybe.
What's their points percentage? Where are they at? They're 16th. Okay. They're 6-5-1.
Apparently,
it's not great, but like
apparently Jordan Binnington was linked to Edmonton potentially. Like the Oilers were interested in maybe Binnington for a trade partner, but now if you're the Oilers there, I don't think St. Louis is touching Jack Campbell, because I think St. Louis is still in that mindset of we're going to win now. Like if you're trading Campbell, you're sending him to, like you mentioned, a Washington or maybe a San Jose. I'm not sure because they already have some tough contracts, but maybe like a Chicago, Philadelphia potentially. Philly, maybe if they actually are able to give Philly an offer they can't refuse for Carter Hart, I could see that. But going out and getting a guy like Binnington, you're having to pay for Binnington first. And then you've got to pay all that extra to send Jack Campbell somewhere else.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're selling the entire farm. You're selling all your assets in one go, hoping that Binnington,
who's known for being inconsistent since he won a cup.
Yeah. He's basically Matt Murray 2.0, minus the injuries, but the temper tantrum increase. Yeah. But then at that point, you've risked and used every asset you have to hope that this goalie will finally work. Because they thought Jack Campbell was going to work. I mean, Mike Smith kind of did, but they thought Koskinen was going to work. And it's just been an endless cycle. Like in the McDavid-Draisaitl era, they haven't had a goalie that they've committed to, and that's the goalie they're running with. I really thought it was going to be Cam Talbot. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you do there anymore with the Oilers.
Yeah, that's tough. They're going to have to make a decision one way or another with the goaltending. But like you said, with they really left the door open for somebody else to seize the opportunity in the Pacific Division, and it really looks like the Canucks are saying dibs. They are taking it and running. They're putting so many points between the two that, because so last year in March, McDavid and Draisaitl went frickin' nuclear, and they went after the Ekholm trade, they went 17-1 or something.
It was nuts,
insane. If this continues for too much longer, they go 17-1. Maybe they get in. They're gonna have to make up some ground before they have to do that again.
Yeah, and again, it seems like it's a recurring theme we're coming back to, but it's becoming more and more prominent. It's like you can't let this hole you're in keep getting bigger, because it's impossible to come out of due to the diversity in the league between teams. It's impossible to get out of down the road. So it's they've got to figure it out, and it's got to be within the next 2 games. They can't keep sitting and waiting, hoping for it to get better, because what are the Canucks now? They're 14 points, 15 points, something ahead of the Oilers. Maybe even 16. I think the Canucks are 21.
Yeah, and by the time you win you win 8 games in a row to get those 15 points. If the Canucks are still playing good, they won 5 or 6 of their last ones, and you didn't make up a ton of ground. It's if the teams are playing good, it's fucking hard to catch up.
And it's also when we're looking at the fact of how many times have the Oilers and Canucks played each other already this year? Is it 3 times or only 2?
I can think
know
of
it's at
2,
least
but I'm not
twice.
sure.
Oh yeah, so they've already played them 3 times to start the season. First one they played back, like the Canucks' first 2 games were against the Oilers. They beat them 8-1 and then 4-3, and then they beat them 6-2 on Monday. So like they've already played 3 of their 4 games on the season and walloped them.
Yeah,
like how do you expect the Oilers to catch the Canucks? Like it's basically going for a wild card almost. But
yeah, time will tell. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, we get a close race once it's winding down at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I have mixed emotions about the whole situation because I'm just not a huge Oilers fan. I really hope they're not in this spot near the end of the season and somehow get another first overall pick. But it's also really fun watching Oilers games in the playoffs. The atmosphere that they have in Edmonton, I think is phenomenal. Like, again, not a fan of them, but like you got to give credit where credit's due. And then just watching McDavid and Draisaitl in the playoffs, they're like on another level. It's fun, but I mean, if they miss the playoffs, I'm not going to pout about it.
Yeah, and it'll make those off seasons really interesting with Draisaitl and McDavid's contracts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think as of right now, what is it, 14.5 million between Nurse and Campbell? I'm not sure why. I don't know if you got the same feed as me for the game, but they showed Draisaitl as the second, or not Draisaitl, Nurse is the second star of the game. I mean, he had that goal, but like he was bad. He did have a good block on. I actually don't think it was a power play for the Sharks, but like they just got to. It's just tough. It's tough to make it a good selling point right now for McDavid and Draisaitl to commit long term at the end of their deals. Yeah, but there's still a lot of time this season. I just think something's got to change sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and we'll keep updating on them because that's a really big story right now. It's just crazy that it's gone like this.
Yeah, I did not expect this kind of start of the season. Not only that, to go into San Jose and lose. Fuck, I'd hate to be that team. I'd fucking hate to be that team. Anyways,
that's brutal.
Like that's tough. I can't even imagine. Ooh. Anyways, all that doom and gloom on the Oilers. Was there anything else you wanted to cover? I didn't have anything.
Just one thing. I don't remember how I got here, but I ended up on because I clicked on I was on the stats page and I wanted to go to team stats to like see this year's stats. You click on team stats and it brings you to a screen where it shows like 22,000 wins for the Canadians because it's the franchises like all times.
Oh yeah.
I was just sorting by things, looking at random shit. 4 out of every franchise, so it's more than 32. It's like all the franchises there have been, like the Hamilton Tigers, the St. Louis Eagles are all on here. The 4th all-time best power play in the NHL, the Arizona Coyotes.
Really?
Fucking what? Colorado makes sense. Vegas makes a lot of sense. Edmonton obviously makes a lot of sense. Arizona.
What year was that?
That's not a year. That's just the franchise as a whole, all time.
Huh.
Yeah, fucking. This is weird as hell. Apparently they've had a good power play. Sharks are second all time for a penalty kill, only to Minnesota.
Really?
Tampa's fifth. Tampa's sixth in power play. We got good
Yeah.
special teams at least.
That's crazy. Good for the Coyotes.
Yeah, right? Like they would have been one of my top guesses for like one of the worst ones of all time. Like,
yeah.
Like they're right below the Oilers with McDavid the last few years, Gretzky back in the day. Like,
yeah,
that's goofy. But no, I do not have anything else.
I did. I can't exactly find.
I guess we can plug our tweet segment for the next show.
I can't find it, and I know it. I know I saw it. I just can't remember where it was or who it was like by.
Like a reporter?
It was just like a report, but like I don't want to say it and then be wrong, so I might just leave it. Because I can't find it, but I'm pretty sure I saw it. But when I look it up, I'm not seeing anything for it now. Oh, well, I was scrolling. I didn't find it, but I did find something else that we didn't talk about, actually, that it's kind of big news. The NHL, they did like a NHL teams voted, and there was a vast majority voting in favor to decentralize the NHL draft.
Oh yeah, that's for them to do it like online,
remotely,
pretty much.
Yeah, kind of like the COVID years almost. Which I hope it's a lot better than. I mean, I still love the way they did it during the COVID years and whatnot, but like I think they've got to up their game now if this is like the actual format they're going with moving forward.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I don't know. I always kind of like the whole first round there and having the guys like kind of there, and I don't know. I just always thought that was kind of cool in person, but I mean, if teams if this is the way they want to go with it, I mean that's fine.
It is cool.
It's a huge change.
It is like a lot of unnecessary stuff. Like the whole floor of the arena is always filled with just a bunch of general managers, assistant GMs, all these guys on their phones. Like all of what they're doing can clearly be done remotely, and there's no reason to really have them there. It is cool for the guys being drafted, though.
Aside, like, this is basically the end of it. When will we ever, aside from the Stanley Cup being lifted, when will we ever really get to hear an entire arena of people boo Gary Bettman, though?
That is true.
It only really ever happened at the draft, and he was welcoming people or announcing a trade or something, and the boos would rain down. It was awesome. We won't get that.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably, more than I think about, that's kind of one of the biggest reasons why I'm like, oh man, because like that was such a fun running joke for so long, and we're gonna lose that. But because I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of people all booing when like he's presenting the cup, because I mean, like it's
the cup. Like,
yeah, I actually kind of want to hear what he has to say, because I think he actually does do really good speeches when presenting the cup and whatnot. So I actually kind of like to hear that. And it's like it's we should be, cheering and celebrating because this team won the cup and for these players and whatnot. So that's why I really kind of like it at the draft. Kind of all the boos that just rain down, and watching them just sit there and squirm in it.
Yeah. I'm very 50-50 in those speeches because I do generally like the content of them. But at the same time, the team is always so fucking antsy. They're like, just hand me the cup. We did the thing. Give me the freaking cup. And I can't blame them. But yeah, so I'm always like, I'm interested in what he has to say in those instances, but also give the man his trophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I just kind of came across that one, and I was like, oh, I guess we should mention that.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be really interesting come next draft if they actually do it like that.
Yeah.
Do
you want me to plug the socials, or do you want
to? You can go for it. We haven't been posting on them very much, obviously, so far, but we did post one thing earlier today. We're just getting some feedback from the listeners and from whoever finds us on Twitter, and we're gonna go through what we tweeted about in a segment on our next episode. So if you want to search us out, we'll be talking about making the perfect hypothetical NHL player.
Oh, I finally found it. He found it. I found it. Okay, so I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. How do you pronounce his name? Macklin Celebrini? Is that how you pronounce it? Or Celebrini?
I think it's Celebrini.
Celebrini. Okay. So, I mean, I'm hoping and praying he goes to the Sharks in the season, but so he's playing with Boston University, men's ice hockey team.
Hell yeah.
So he was named Hockey East Player of the Month and National Rookie of the Month. And so he is the first rookie in 20 years to earn the league's October Player of the Month award. So he's the first rookie to do that in 20 years. So like I think that's pretty
good.
Like that's pretty cool. And like I think it's more so the fact that like Boston, like a lot of good players have come through Boston University as well. Not only that, like other teams over there, like that whole, NCAA is just really grown massively in the last couple years. Like it's starting to get up there kind of with the CHL's leagues and
absolutely. I mean,
so
God, that Michigan team is just consistently been unreal.
Yeah. And what was it the 1 year? Was it what was it? I know they had it was 4 players from that team went in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like Owen Power, Beniers, Luke Hughes, and then Kent Johnson. Like you've got 4 players on one team that were in the top 5 of the NHL draft class last year. Like that's insane.
That's so stacked.
And I think they lost in the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Busts.
I don't even think they went on to win at all, which is crazy. Like that just shows how good other teams are in that now. But I thought that was really cool because again, I'm hoping that, and I can actually even say this because he's spent time in Sounds. I can say I hope he comes home. But so any more stuff that comes out about him throughout the season, I will gladly be bringing to the table for us.
All right, gotta be hyped about something, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like besides our 2-game win streak, there hasn't been much else.
Heater.
They are. Seriously, next, I don't even know the Sharks are playing next because I'm only taking it 1 game at a time because that's all I can handle. But just slam money line because it's.
Oh yeah, Hurdle's gonna
go on a tear, dude. He might.
At this rate.
But yes, thank you to everybody for listening to another episode of the Stick 'em Up podcast. This one went a little bit longer than I think we were planning, but that is totally fine. We got no issue with that because we always love to talk hockey over here. If you would like to, again, check out the socials and join in on the conversations we're finally having over there. After many times of saying we're going to do it, we finally did it. Over on Twitter/X and Instagram. We're on both of those over there at SEU Hockey. You can feel free to check us out there, join in the conversation, chat with us, and some of the stuff you reply with us could be featured in the next one or the one after that or anytime. Got anything you want to add here before we hop off?
No, follow the socials. Just get on our asses.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you to everybody for listening. One final shout out to Quinn Hughes. He's carrying my fantasy team, so I just wanted to say thanks to him for that because we know he does listen. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.